Hey there, this is John. Welcome to the Breakthrough Creative, where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. One of the topics that I hear artists struggling with, that I myself have struggled with in my career, is finding clients, getting those clients, keeping those clients so that you can build an ongoing relationship with them and have work come in regularly. And it is something that I've had some success with in my career. And so today's episode is going to focus on that broad topic. And so this is what I'm going to be calling a sales and marketing episode for artists. And my guest today is Amy Rogers. You may remember Amy from episode 20. Amy is the director of Self-Employment in the Arts, which is called C to keep it easy on the linguistics. But you can find out more information about C at selfemploymentinthearts.com. And what C is all about is it is a program geared towards helping emerging visual, performing, literary, and media artists gain the resources and connections they need to be a successful creative. So they cover the gambit of all kinds of creative mediums, and it's a wonderful organization. I am on the board of the organization, and I've been involved in behind the scenes and planning for each of the conferences that happen annually, and all the people involved are incredibly genuine, care for artists, care about business, and care to see artists make a real successful living at whatever it is they do. And so, Amy is one of those people who's just at the top of the heap for me. She is a really good person and has a real heart for artists. So she asked me if she could interview me on this particular topic today. And I asked her, hey, do you mind if I share it on my show? And she was very gracious and said yes. So I'm going to hand it over to Amy and myself in just a moment. But first, I would like to ask you, would you please subscribe to The Breakthrough Creative? If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a subscription. If you're listening to us on a podcast somewhere, hopefully if it's iTunes, you will give us a subscription there too, and maybe leave us a rating and a review would be greatly appreciated. And I would also ask, would you please share these episodes with the artists in your life? There is so much wonderful, beneficial information in here from my guests. And I just would really, really like to have more and more artists be exposed to the wealth of experience that my guests are sharing with me and with you. Hopefully, it's going to help you with some shortcuts in whatever part of the world you're doing business and whatever part of the business you're doing business. And it is also going to save you time and money and, learn from other people's failures, right? Learn from my failures. Please, please do. So with that being said, thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. I really, really appreciate you all and just the wonderful feedback that I have had from the listeners and watchers of the Breakthrough Creative. You guys rock. And so without further ado, I am going to hand it over to myself and to Amy.
Welcome everyone to our coffee break session with John McDavitt today. John has been around C for a very long time. He's on our board and just an awesome illustrator. One of the speakers that we have so much great feedback on year to year. So we're so happy that he's able to provide a session here today for us. And whether you're watching live with us or whether you're watching it recorded, we're glad that you're here. So John, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Amy. You rock. You've just reminded me how very old I'm getting. But I'm good with that.
Oh,
So, when you invited me on to do this segment, I was thinking, okay, what would be something that might be good, applicable, helpful, and immediately I thought about, finding clients as an artist, right? How do I find clients? How do I make a living? And I titled this, how to win clients and make a living, because I really believe that it is about, it's not like winning, hey, I got the trophy, but you're trying to win people's trust. You're trying to win jobs. You're trying to win relationships with people. And I mean all of that stuff in the most friendly and servant-ish of manners. Okay, so I remember when I was just out of high school and I was trying to figure out how to make money as an artist, because that was kind of my paradigm, was I need to make money as an artist. It was very broad, but it was also very direct and very simple. So if I was, putting crayons on a wall for somebody and they were paying me, I was going to be thrilled with that. If I was painting murals somewhere, whatever it was, as long as I was drawing and creating art and making a living, I was going to be absolutely thrilled. So, as I started, my gateway tool into making a living as an artist was airbrushing. And at the time, it was airbrushing t-shirts. That was really big. And what was wonderful about that was it was an unusual art form. It was pretty popular at the time, but it was also very, it was rare. So it was popular, the demand was high, the ability to do it well was rare, and the materials, because I already had an airbrush and a compressor, were fairly cheap. Now I needed to figure out, how do I get from there to money, right? I mean, that's the trick, right? So I had to get word out about myself. And as artists, that can be really challenging, right? And I'm an extrovert, so even then it was challenging, because I'm trying to get the word out that, hey, I have this service and I'm good. And that can feel weird to tell people in so many words you're good at something, because then that sounds kind of boastful or proud, right? And then you're putting yourself out there and you're opening yourself up to criticism, and that's just part of the deal. Like, at some point you just kind of go, oh, okay, this is just part of the deal. And people really aren't paying that much attention to what you're doing anyway. Like, all the people that I had, I don't know about you, I had a lot of people in my head going, who does he think he is to do this or that or the other thing, even though I was kind of bold and brash and moving forward. And so I had kind of a run of time where I was working for a couple of shops that had airbrushing. And then at some point I realized there was a ceiling to the amount of money that I could earn doing that. And we parted ways. And then it became, how do I get myself really out there now? Like, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking to go be a subcontractor. So I had to learn about marketing and sales. Now, I didn't know I was learning about marketing and sales. It was almost like one success or one mistake kind of led to the next thing. So I just started to call a bunch of different t-shirt shops, apparel shops around the Chicagoland area to see if they would be interested in having an airbrush t-shirt artist there. And it was fascinating because I was really cold calling. I didn't know I was cold calling, but I was cold calling. And I started to learn words and phrases that would get me to the next person that I needed to talk to. And then I would learn a little bit more. And so I was becoming savvy in contacting and selling my services. And so really what I was doing there was I was marketing. I didn't realize it. I was marketing. I think marketing and sales, you'll hear sales and marketing. It's kind of nebulous, or it has been to me anyway, and so I think now of marketing as introducing your services, your products, and maybe your brand or your way of being, like who you are and what you can do, to new clients. It's almost like getting ready to go out on a date. You know, you're kind of like, okay, I want to put my best foot forward. Hey, this is who I am. I'm John McDavitt. I am an illustrator and a designer, and I happen to airbrush t-shirts, and I'm wondering if you might be interested in a service like that you could offer to your customers. And if they're interested, because I got a lot of hangups. Well, I shouldn't say hangups. I got a lot of no's. Don't be afraid of no's. No's are just the parameters to tell you that, okay, keep going and you'll find some yeses. We're always going to get more no's than yeses. I suspect. I probably shouldn't make it a blanket statement like that, but it sure seems to work that way. So then you get to sales, right? You actually get to the person that you need to speak with, and now they're interested in you and your services. And if marketing is making yourself look nice for a date and putting your best foot forward, sales is asking for somebody to go on a date with you. Right? And so I would speak with the person, and if they were really interested, we'd set up a meeting, and then I would go meet with them face to face. And then if they were still interested, we'd talk about setup. We'd talk about overspray from the airbrush. People were concerned, is our shop going to get messy? Is it going to smell weird? I would bring paint with me. I would let them smell the paint. I would explain to them that airbrushing is very controlled. I'm not going to make a mess of anything. All right, then we get to the next spot. Like, what if you're airbrushing a shirt and you make a mistake? Well, I may be able to fix it, or I'll have to get a new shirt. Well, those shirts are $3 a piece. Okay, well, I'll eat the mistakes. Okay, and so we're slowly checking things off as we go. And then eventually it becomes, all right, well, what do you charge per design? And what are you going to take? What do I take? What do you take? And you start to hash out the terms of the deal. And then if it's agreeable to everybody, you've made the sale, right? And that's kind of a different sale, right? Because that's about retail. And so, I guess you could be asked, hey, will you just airbrush t-shirts for us, and we'll put them up and we'll stockpile them. So that would be like selling to them as a customer. But then, with the airbrushing, it was a lot of in-person, as people are walking by, there's suddenly an impulse buy where people are like, wow, I didn't know I needed airbrush t-shirts, but I want 3 of them. And then you're selling to them, each little design. What about this? What about this? Well, my sister likes blue, and there's not blue on that design. Well, I can put blue on that design. Oh, fantastic. I'll take one of those. And so you're closing these little deals as you go. But then there's a different kind of selling, which is, I would almost call it corporate client. And so this is different than retail. It's corporate money. It's generally office work kind of people. They go to work and they're building something or providing some kind of a service, and they're going to hire me as a subcontractor to deliver some kind of visuals to help them satisfy whatever their needs are at that moment.
It really is so much about, it sounds like asking a lot of questions. So you're knowing the right way to go in the right direction and everything. So I think that's great.
Oh man, yeah. So many questions, because ultimately it's not about me. It's about my client. It's about me insofar as I need to make a living. I want to make a living with my art, and I want to go serve people. But ultimately, that's not where it lands. It's always about the client. It's always about the client. It's always about the client. So let me take a step back from the corporate for just a second, even though I'm still going to be talking about corporate, and maybe go into kind of what I see as components of marketing and sales. And so the first one of those is, who's your client? you got to identify your clients. Now, I cast this broad net early on, but then when I picked up the airbrush and I started to focus on that kind of put parameters around who my clients were, because my clients, if I was airbrushing t-shirts, were probably going to be teenager to 20-year-olds to, you might skew up into 30, or grandmas who would have, a sweater made and it would have 8 apples on it. And each apple would have a name of their grandchild, right? And then we'd give that to grandma and grandma would be thrilled. So I had this not paradigm, what's the word? Demographic of people that would be attracted to the work I did. So those were the clients for me to identify. So if I went into, say, a shop that might be like something that ladies who are in their 50s might go buy clothes there, and I'm set up airbrushing t-shirts, it's probably not going to do so well. So I shouldn't be surprised if it doesn't, and I probably don't want to go down that avenue. I'd like to be somewhere where there are a lot of people, there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of action, and that's why malls were good for airbrushing t-shirts. Now, when I started to shift out of t-shirts and then into product development, and it seems like a long way, but essentially with my background, I had an understanding of how things were made. So I had a sculpting background and mold making and really strong drawing skills. So I ended up, while I was airbrushing, being signed as a consultant to a major airbrush company. And they would take me to trade shows with them. And they would often be at hobby or crafting shows. And I would walk these shows and I would look at the product that the companies were selling, and I would try to see myself in their product. Would they use what I do to help make their product, whether it be designing the actual product, sending schematics to manufacturers to help them be on the same page, blueprints of the product, decoration of the product, sales and marketing of theirs for their product, where I could create renderings for them. And I would try and find about 10 companies per show that I went to. And out of that, I would usually get 3 clients. And they might be a one-off, or I might be able to build a relationship with them, because ultimately what I wanted to do was win clients. I wanted to be a repeat service for them, because if you get one client and they're thrilled and they keep giving you work, you don't have to look for as many clients, right? You can, if you're growing your business and you have other people who can do the work and help you out with that. But, ideally you want to have your coffers full of clients. So you need to identify your clients. Who are they? Another thing I would do is I would walk through craft stores. So I might walk through a Michael's, say, or a Hobby Lobby, or I'd walk through a toy store. And then if I saw a product that looked like it was something I could design or do the artwork for the packaging or whatever it was, I would take the product, pick it up, and I would turn it around and I would see who the company was. And I'd find out where they were located. And because I'm in Chicago, there were actually quite a few companies located in Chicago. And I would then do the next thing on my list, which is contact the clients. You can phone them, you can email them, cold calling is really what that is. I think I mentioned cold calling earlier, and it's where you don't know anybody there and you're calling them up and you're asking for work. But you're not saying it that way. You're not asking for it that way. And you're being persistent with meeting with them, or pursuing them. But hey, I'm sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. Let me take a look. When you're looking at other product companies, are you looking to see if you can do the same or better? Well, I never thought that I was, well, I guess there are times where I might think I could do better than that, but I need to be careful because they may not be looking for different. Like better is a relative term. And if they have a market for something, like if you see all those Funko head bopper sculptures that they have, it's a very specific style. That's not everybody's style. So I probably wouldn't go to them say, and I wouldn't go to any client and say, I can do better than what you've got on the shelves, right? uh, I might say, would you be interested in this? So I'm always looking to come in and help, and never to be the oh, you're doing this wrong kind of an attitude. And I know that's not what you were asking, but I've seen people do that. I've seen a new designer come in and say, basically, I've got all the answers. Let me sort this out for you. This is what you need to do. And I see the looks on the client's faces, and the designer is not reading the room. And I know I'm not going to see them there again, that'll be it. Oh, contacting clients. So it's a challenging one, right? Because A, nobody might know you there. So you might want to ask around and see if any of your friends or family know anybody. And you'd be surprised, at least locally for you, you never know. People know people. And because of social media, people really know people. And because of social media, you can start to look in LinkedIn, you can look on Facebook even, you can go and you can look on Instagram. And chances are you're gonna find somebody, or at least somebody close to who you need to speak to. Now, what I used to do is when I called the company up, I would get you're going to get a reception person, and they're the firewall. I got to get past them. And they're there to protect the company. And I really respect them. I think it's a really hard job for them to have because they're buffeted all day long with all kinds of phone calls. So I typically, when they would answer, it might be, whatever, name of the company, how may I help you? I would say, hi, my name's John McDavitt, and I have a design studio, and I'm an illustrator, and I see that you make product, and I'm wondering if you have a product development team. And it might be quiet, and I might hear, well, yeah, we do have a product development team. Do you think there is somebody I might be able to speak with there who I could introduce my services to? I think I could be of assistance to your company. And more often than not, I can't actually think of a time when I called and did that I didn't hear, hang on just a moment. And then they would either come back and say, would you email or would you leave a message for such and such person? And then I had a contact. I had kind of an introduction from the firewall, right? I got through the firewall. If you get through the firewall, people might listen a little bit more to you. But I like to keep it brief, and then just leave my information. And, you can contact me. I can send you some of my work, or you can take a look at my work over here. Now, if I get to speak with that person, my goal is to win them over as far as trust in my personality. So I don't want to be like a boastful, pushy person. I am here to help. That is always what I'm here to do. I'm here for you. So I might ask, hey, can I tell you a little bit about what I do and what my background is? And then if they say yes, I will get into how, I have a background in illustration and sculpture and design. I studied special effects makeup under Dick Smith, who had done The Exorcist. And then I somehow got into toy design, which led me into product development. And I've been involved in product development at any and all steps of the way, from conceptualizing and brainstorming through to tighter renderings and drawings. Maybe you've got a license and you need to get something in front of Disney for approval. I can put something nice together for you with Disney. And typically I can get approval on designs from Disney or other licensing companies by the second time around. I understand style guides, I can copy styles. If you need design for manufacturing done, if you need sales and marketing images, if you need package design done, and then if you need final art for anything, I'm able to help you in any of those ways. And I'm glad to help you in any of those ways. And just so you know, when we're working on a project, if you ever have a change, I don't ever want you to feel like you're hurting my feelings. I'm here to help you. And whatever, I might make suggestions at times, but in the same way, if you're not interested in it, I'm good with that. I just want to be your hands and your eyes and help you get from A to logistics to out the door. And so then we get to kind of the next level of this, which is make the offer, or you might hear people say close the deal. Now maybe you're saying to yourself, well, you just presented yourself to this person, you don't even know what projects they have, how can you do that? Well, here's what you can do. Opposed to, airbrushing a t-shirt and saying, hey, do you want to have a name on green on a white t-shirt that's $18.95? Good. Everybody does their transaction and you're ready to roll. In this situation, when I'm on the phone with a corporate client, I may ask them, so do you have any questions for me? They may or may not. And then I'll ask them, is there anything I can help you with right now? And then if they pause, they're thinking. They're thinking about what they can give to you. And you don't want to sell past the sale. You just sit and wait and listen. And at some point they may say, you know what, let me think about it. Let me talk to the team. Let me introduce your work to some of the people here, and I'll get back with you. Or they may say, you know what, I've got a little project and I think I'd like to try you out on it. And then, things change at that point. So let's go back to the first one where they say, let me get back to you. Okay, they've thought about it, let me get back to you. Oh, and they may very well say, you know what, we've got a big design team. It's good to have your info, and we're not going to really need to use you. Then I may ask, hey, can I just touch base with you every couple months? Would you be good with that? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. And then you keep their email, you keep their information, and every couple months you just say, hey, I just want to check in, say hi, see how you're doing. And it's a different way to build a relationship, right? They don't need you right then, but down the road they may. And you'll be like at the front of their mind when that time comes on. So then the next one is they don't need you at that moment, but they're going to introduce you to the team. I don't like to leave it at that. I don't like to leave it open-ended, because you may never hear from them again, or they get busy. Then I'll just ask them, okay, that sounds fantastic. If I don't hear from you in a few days, do you mind if I touch base? Okay, where can I reach you? So you get their contact information. If they give you their contact information, by the way, in all three of these situations that I'm presenting, man, you're good. That's a really good thing to get. And then, of course, the best situation generally is, you know what, we have a project for you. And what's your email? And you ask a little bit maybe about what the project is. Maybe they say, why don't we send you the email and you can look it over and then we can talk. And then I wait for the email, or they start to ask me about my pricing. Now, pricing is a whole different hour for us to do, right? But I think that, I mean, for me, I don't do hourly pricing because I either end up, I'm too quick for hourly pricing for the work that I do, or I'll sound like a lawyer if I price it out appropriately, and nobody wants to hear that. And that can also be a sign that you're dealing with a client that you may or may not want to work with. Like if they demand hourly, I don't know. I think that can be a little short-sighted by a company or an organization. But I'll usually say, depending on the project, it could be anywhere. Like if we're into concepts, like what do you want? I'll try and get a rough idea from them. And then once I have a rough idea, I've had enough project work in my life to have an idea, to at least take a stab at it of what it's going to be. And then they can let me know what they think. And something I never do, and I highly encourage everyone not to do is say, all right, I'll do this first one for you for free, so you see what I could do, or I'll do this one on the cheap for you, because I never do that. Never do that, because it feels a bit desperate, and it actually feels unprofessional. And if you have somebody who wants you to work on the cheap or for free, chances are that's who they're going to be as a client. If people are professional and they're making money and they're looking to put good work out there, they're always willing to pay for quality work, you know. So yeah, those are the make the offer.
Do you, John, at that point when you're, working on making the offer, do you ask, what kind of budget they're working with so you can kind of know, and I know it kind of depends on the creative work that you're doing, but sometimes you could adjust. So like I'm going to talk from Steve's with video production, for example. So we've done where we know, like, the budget of the client might be less than what we envisioned for what we were looking at. But so we're going to still work with to build that relationship, look at doing something smaller to start with them within the budget, but still at the value of what we envision the project to be. So for that example, so do you talk to them about their budget at that point, or
Yeah.
do you wait till you're a little farther in?
Well, I will. I think I do. I do what you're suggesting, but the way I'll approach it with a client is, so say it's an illustration they want for a box cover, and I'll ask them, am I doing the graphic design on it as well as the illustration? And we hash all that out. So let's say I'm doing all of that. Then I'll ask them, what's your timeline? And then after that, I usually don't ask them their budget, because I don't want them to set the bar for it. I want to set the bar. Sometimes maybe I said it, maybe they would come and say, we'll pay you $30,000 to do this, and I've missed out. But I suspect that's very rare. So I will say, hey, maybe I'm taking notes about what it is they want. And then I'll ask them, can we review this? Let me just make sure I heard you right. And I'll run through everything, and then they'll say, great, or you missed this or whatever. And they'll say, hey, let me put a quote together and let me get back with you. I'll get back with you in a day. Or if their deadline is real soon, I'll get back with you in an hour. But then I'll put a quote together. And, usually for development work like that, there is a concept stage, unless they have designs already. So then that may affect it as well, right? Because they know what they want, and now they just need somebody to color it in or to, make it digital, make it printable. But if not, I'll say, okay, so I'll do some concept sketches. I'll do like 4 concept sketches of layout, what the illustration could look like, and I'll include 2 rounds of revisions. Okay, and that'll be this price. Anything above and beyond that, this is going to be an extra component, and we'll figure that out when we get to it. Then after that, I do the same thing with layout. I'll do the layout, and I'll give you 2 rounds of revisions, and then we get to color and 2 rounds of revisions. So usually that's enough to make everybody feel safe and comfortable within the life of that project. And it also allows for your client to be able to run stuff up the flagpole to say, hey, this is where we're at. I got a couple of rounds of revisions yet to go. What do you think? And sometimes you get it in the first round and there are no revisions. So yay, you. Sometimes it goes beyond 2, 3, 4 rounds, but now you're charging for the extra ones. So you're not just stuck. So that's how I tend to roll. And again, it depends on the job and the client.
When you first started, because I think the more you do it, the more you can have a sense and a feeling of
Yes.
what you're doing, and that comes with time. So I don't think there's any quick easy answer to that comfort level of knowing how to ask for that. But I think there are still things early on that you can, the asking a lot of questions, and so you have a good sense of that. But overcoming that fear, I think, or that questioning, the doubt when you do ask that first price and feeling, am I asking too much, or am I way out of the ballpark on this? And I'm thinking through some of our own experience when we started our business in college. So I'm thinking the different rounds of the businesses we've had and the different things, and even we've got some good stories there, as I'm sure you do too. But what would be your biggest tip for somebody who's, maybe this is the first time they're going in to close the deal, to ask for that project, to talk about that? What's your biggest tip there to know you're not, or to be comfortable with what you're proposing?
Well, two things that come to mind right away. The first is you won't be comfortable. You just won't be.
Mhm.
It's your first time doing it, and you're kind of walking through that fire, and you it's just growing, and you won't be comfortable with it, and you'll question yourself. And if the client says yes right away, you'll be thinking, oh no, did I charge too little? Did I miss something? And if they say, wow, that's way too expensive, you're going to feel probably bad about that. So I would encourage you, as best you can, try and take your feelings out of it, because you'll feel stuff. I'm not telling you not to feel. I'm telling you to kind of have your plan set for what you're going to go in for, and and then and then take it apart later. You can do a forensic over the whole thing later and learn from it, whether it's successful or middling or a failure. You can take it apart later. But then even before that, I would really encourage you to make sure that you have some mentors in place, whether they're coaches or teachers or family members in business who may or may not understand your art, but somebody who's supportive of you, and run through some scenarios with them. And maybe even somebody or a couple of people who are those coaching mentor types. You can say, look, this is the project. This is what I'm quoting. Do you think I'm missing anything? Do you think it's fair? And then you can go in. So you're kind of, I used to think that people were kind of born with it. I used to think that they kind of, they knew and they would go and do this and that. I think the people who are in it long term, which by the way is another thing to consider, is it's a long game. Like you're in this, like one success or one failure does not make you okay. Um, but I used to think that they weren't as prepared. I think they're very prepared. I am very rehearsed and practiced, not meaning, I mean, sometimes I'll actually say the words out loud because I want them to pass over my tongue and through my mouth, and hear them and feel them. And because I am trying to sell, and I'm trying to persuade. And uh, but I'm so practiced by working with clients now, it's second nature. And at some point, if you do it enough, that's where you'll be. So I would say, be as prepared as you can before you go in to meet with the client, and just expect that you're going to be nervous. Maybe your mouth's going to be dry. Maybe you're swallowing a lot. Chances are the client understands, if you're a younger person in particular, that you're going to be nervous about this. But if you're in there and if you're presenting, chances are you're also good enough to get the job. So, there's two sides to that coin to really take a look at. I have gone into meetings with clients, and I was so nervous because I wanted the job, because I was maybe presenting in a way I'd never presented for, and asking for stuff that I didn't know if I was right or not. But it's just part of the process. And I always just try to be personable, but also um, be confident. And I would become more confident as the client bought into my competency. And I I if I see an opening, I'll try and get people to smile and to laugh, And I don't want to turn it into a comedy show, and I don't want to be unprofessional. And I certainly don't want to do anything that's really going to turn people off of me. Um, but I don't know everybody, and I can't read what they're thinking. I don't know who they don't like. I could walk in there and I might look like somebody in high school who was a bully or something, and for that reason they're not going to want to work with me, right? We can't help those things, but we can, do our best in the midst of it. But yeah, I've been mortified, like heart beating through my neck.
I've been there too. That's for sure.
So you're in good company if
Yeah.
you're feeling those things. So let's do you have any more questions on that?
No, that's good. That was great.
So let me move forward then. Now, if you've got this client, if we've run through those steps, right? You've identified them, you've contacted them, you've had an opportunity to make an offer, and they've accepted. Now you've got an opportunity to build relationships. Now you've got an opportunity to really build a long-term client partnership with this person or this company. So some things to remember. Be professional, all right? What does that mean? What does that even mean? Well, take a look around. How are people dressed? How are they talking to each other? How are they acting? You kind of need to become a little bit of a cultural chameleon, where okay, if they're not wearing jeans and they're all dressed up in tuxedos, that's ridiculous, right? You're probably going to want to dress up a little bit, or you're, at a wedding banquet, or I don't know. But you need to be aware of how the people around you are acting, and I try to assimilate some to the culture, and mirror back to them who they are, right? I fit here, I belong here. Be on time. If you're going somewhere for the first time, and let's say we're outside of Chicago, let's say they want me there at 9 o'clock in the city and I'm in the suburbs, I'm probably going to leave at 6 in the morning that first time. And I'll get down there early. And if I got to sit in my car, I'll do it. It's easier to do than ever before because I'll have my phone or some kind of, device that I can do other work on or whatever. And you just don't want to be late. Not the first time, okay? Short of an accident, God forbid, or something like that, you don't want to be late. Then you want to be humble, right? You don't want to come in and, hey, how you doing? Hey, talking it, just get used to the place, get used to who they are. Again, that's some of that cultural chameleonship. But be courteous, be pleasant, be kind, and act like a servant to them. I think people in our culture, I know it kind of, for me, when I hear the word servant, I'm a little bit like, it sounds like you're beneath somebody. But what you're doing is you're purposefully putting yourself under the needs in a healthy way of your client. I'm here to serve your needs. What's your agenda, and what is the end that you're trying to achieve, and how can I help you with that? It's not like you're becoming somebody's slave because they're paying you, right? I mean, so you're serving them. So I just think that that's something to think about as you're working with clients, because I think sometimes we can go into a client, or maybe I'm just talking about me. I used to go in and think I'm your savior, but I can be, but I'm not like your ultimate kind of like superhero. I'm here to help you with part of the project to make your life easier. So then more questions to ask the client on their projects and stuff is, gotta know the marks you need to hit and what your deliverables are. If they tell you our deadline is, March 31st at 3 p.m. sharp, you better have it there by then. If they tell you that, like say I get a project and it's 3 weeks out, I don't like my clients to be surprised ever, unless it's something good. But most surprises with clients, that if a client's surprised, it's usually bad. So I like to show them progress as I go. And then I'll know that we're getting closer to hitting the mark. Because left to my own devices, I'll just make my own thing. And that's not what I'm doing. If this is applied arts for my clients, I'm trying to give them what they want. So, as we're walking through the project, I might send them an email of sketches the next day. And first off, if it's the day after we start the job, they're amazed. They are amazed because they're like, wow, that's so fast. And I tell them I can work pretty quick, and then I can take care of, like, if I need to U-turn, I can move pretty quick. So speed is one of my tools, benefits of working with me. And so I'll show them. So say I send them some designs on a Tuesday and I don't hear anything Tuesday, and then I don't hear anything by 1 on Wednesday. It's time for me to reach out to them, either by a phone call or an email, and say, hey, I just want to make sure you got this and it's not sitting in spam or anything like that. We good? Usually I'll hear, oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I've been buried. So then they'll tell you either what you need to know about it or move ahead, or I need to run it by somebody, and then they'll get back with you. If they don't get back with me within another reasonable amount of time, I'm on the phone again trying to hunt them down. And and then I ask questions all along the way. What about this? What about that? Is this 4-color process? What about, when I deliver this, what else do you need? What physically do you need from me? So you need to know exactly what you're doing. And as you're asking them questions, you're also building a relationship with them that's, professional around the project, but it's also personal stuff can get in there. And that's a good thing if you keep it professional, right? You start to hear somebody talk about their kid, and then the next day, when you're chatting with them, it's like, hey, how's your son doing? You guys doing good? You have a good weekend? You don't want to dig too deep. You just want to be friendly. And then people start to realize that you care about them. And that's a really important part of the client consultant relationship is, if people know that you, or believe that you care about them, and then you're doing good work, oh my goodness, why are they going to go find anybody else ever? Unless your prices are crazy, unless something weird happens, right? So, one last thought on not surprising your clients. Don't ask for, or don't make unrequested changes at the end. Like you decide all of a sudden, boy, this blue is nice, but this needs to be red, and then you just deliver it in red. That's a bad idea. Don't do that without talking to the client first. Don't request more time on the day it's due. That if you need more time, if you're having a problem, get on the phone right away with the client. If you're confused about something, get on the phone with the client. I'd rather look dumb in the short term, which you won't, than look like a fool at the end when I totally miss something. And then, you don't want to send an invoice that surprises a client either. So you kind of want to know upfront what you're charging. They know they've got it worked into their budget. But if there is a crazy change in the middle of it, you need to address that with them and say, hey, this alters things. And then maybe they don't understand it. And maybe they're having a bad day, and maybe they come back at you kind of hard, and it's through an email or a text or something. Get on the phone with them. Don't keep emailing and texting. You need to get them on the phone so they can hear your voice, hear that you're a real person, and then you can say, hey, can I explain to you why this is what it is? It sounded like it really surprised you. Yeah, it did really surprise me because of this and that. All right, well, if you want me to do this, I actually have to buy this paint, and this paint is like $75 a tube, and I need 10 tubes of this to do this whole job. And so I don't think we can use a different tube. But anyway, then you can problem solve with them. So yeah, I think that those are really important things to be aware of. And I would call that stuff, I said it earlier too, I would call that stuff kind of reading the room as well. Like you're setting yourself up for success, and then you're kind of reading, and we all do it when we read an email from somebody. We're kind of taking like, what do they mean by that? And then you got to get on the phone and chat. So
No, those are great tips. I always talk. I love about being the chameleon in the room. I remember I was in doing an interview for an internship at a creative. I'll not name the company, but it was a big corporation in the creative industry per se, let's say. And I was a business major. I went in with my blue suit. I wasn't power black. I was blue at least. With an off-white shirt underneath and all of a junior in college at the time. And everybody was very artsy. Everybody in there. And I did not get I did not get the internship. I did not fit in. It is a story that I share to all the college students I work with all the time is, just because, and on top of it, my market research was all about how women are dressed in we worked for a client on this, but she did these presentations about how women should be in black power suits, and all this. It was so opposite what my audience was and the people I would be working with if I got it. So I love that because that's true. You need to fit in. I mean, you need to
Yeah.
feel part of it. They want you to be somebody that they want to work with, and you want to work with them too. So it's a mutual kind of relationship that develops. So I love that. I think that's very great advice.
It's I've experienced the bad side of that. And just as you said, it's like, oh, this I feel like I don't belong here. This is painful. um, can I tell one quick story about pricing?
Absolutely.
So early on, I was hourly. Early on. And it was because people would ask me and I didn't know to ask or to answer, hey, I do per project. So I'm doing all this project work per hour, and it was good at the time. I mean, I think I was charging $35 an hour or something, and it was fine. But I was still looking to get beyond that. I've always kind of looked and said, I have no ceiling. I don't want a ceiling on my earnings. I'm just going to go get it. So I was doing a lot of work for this one client. I probably had 20 people I was working with at this one company, and they all had me loaded. And so, I mean, I was up to here, and I got a call from one of my good clients. They were all good clients there. And this person I particularly had an affinity for because she was so good to work with. She was so efficient. She trusted me. We were just, on the right line with each other. And she said, hey, I've got this project, and then asked me, can I do it? And it was fairly substantial. And I said, I don't think I can do it. And she said, what? I said, I have so much in front of me right now. I'm frightened that if I take it on, the quality won't be there and it's going to hit everybody else as well. I said, I never turn projects down. I think I've got to turn you down. I'm so sorry. And she said, are you sure? And then she was off the phone. And then I remember I hung the phone up and I was like, my heart was beating and I was kind of, because you don't turn work down, or I didn't want to. It felt like I was handing it off to another designer and I didn't want to do that. So then 10 minutes later, she calls me back. John, I'm here with somebody such and such. She's got another one of the people I work with there. We need you to do this. You have to do this. You're the only person who could do this, which is flattering, right? And it's also, you gotta know what you're saying yes to, right? You gotta know. Sometimes it's bad to take on all the work. And there was no difference. I was like, I don't think I can do this, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to be a mess if I take it on. I love you guys and la, 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 la. So we got off the phone. And again, I get off and I'm kind of, sweating. Like, I can't believe I turned it down a second time. 5 minutes later, I get a call. Same client, same thing. We got no recourse. Like, you're it. We need you to do this. I said, all right, give me 10 minutes. And I sat down after I hung the phone up and I wrote out the project. I wrote out everything that needed to be done on it. I estimated my hours and I figured what it would cost. And so I took that number and I multiplied it by 2.5 times. And we got on the phone and I said, I can do it. It's going to cost this. And it was substantial. And she said, okay. And I remember I hung the phone up and I was like, oh my goodness, I just got a whole lot of money. It like changed everything. And it was a project price. And then I thought, oh no, now I got to do this. And so anyway, it was painful. I probably stayed up a couple nights in a row, but I got it done. But then it changed everything. Everybody there I went to per project with. And then I started to do that with all my other clients. And it changed everything. It just, I was able to, afford a home. It just changes things for you. It becomes real income.
That's a great story. That's just so, I mean, it's the realization of the value and just where you're at and the growth and all of that. But yeah, that I've heard it before, and it's I love it because I think it's also reassuring to somebody who's starting out to understand also that if you start at a certain point, everybody who's out there at the point maybe you want to be right now, there's all those lessons you've learned along the way and you've gotten better at each one of those and you've shifted, you've changed, and how you're doing things now. If after listening to this you're like, ooh, I really messed up, I didn't quite do this or that, or those are the kind of things that it's okay, you get better, you improve.
Yeah.
And that's how we all are with it. So
yeah. Oh, and if you make a mistake and if you're really wrong, apologize to your client and then fix it. And you don't charge them for the fix. You fix it, you make it right.
Yeah.
That's an important one. I've heard people mess that one up too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're all human, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you step back and you think about it. I like the idea of the servant kind of concept to it, because when you step back, in the end, you want to work with clients who are going to have a respect for you in the same way you respect them. And so if you're being, if you're doing everything on your end of it the way you would want to be treated, kind of that whole concept to it all, then the clients that are going to keep you are going to be the ones that share those same values in a working relationship. And I think that's how you grow a business and be happy in that business with
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. And then suddenly you find yourself, with some of those clients, they become friends.
Mm-hmm.
Or they like you enough that when they go to another company, they bring you with. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly there's no firewall. You've just got this new client, and, it doesn't always work out, but usually it does. It's pretty good.
Right.
It's pretty good.
And there are times, and we've again, I've known John a long time. We've shared lots of stories over the years, and I know, and I've heard stories about when it is time to let that relationship go with a client. That's not a healthy relationship. That's not good for your business, even if it pays really well. It's just not good for you as a person, and those are okay too. It's really about building a business. And it takes time to do that. In your business, if you're dealing with clients, they're part of that business. And like you say, you want to be working with clients that more times than not, you really enjoy working with them. It doesn't mean you're not going to have those, oh my gosh, we have, some great clients we love to work with, but it doesn't mean there aren't late nights trying to, fix something that was, like just, you're trying to do things, and some clients are needier than others, but it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy working with them still. So
right. And you'll figure that out over time. Just like you're saying, Amy, you kind of know what's coming with this package, and you manage it. Or if it becomes too much, or if a client actually, you're serving a client, just because you're serving them doesn't mean you have to take abuse. Right. So if they're nasty, if they're yelling, if they're swearing, if they're whatever it is, if they're just bad mojo, you can be too busy. Mm-hmm. I don't even know that you need to fire them. It's like, I'm too busy. Yeah. Sorry. And then if you need them down the road and you're destitute and they're calling you, you can take the work, and if you want.
Right. No. That's great advice. I'm seeing if we've got any other questions here, but I think those are pretty much the questions that I've got today and we've got here. But just really appreciate the great wisdom and building good clients. I think it's a good perspective to really understand that it's this mutual relationship, and it's all about the relationship and building that, and some great tips.
Amy, thank you so much for interviewing me and for letting me use this interview on my very own show. I greatly appreciate that, and I greatly appreciate you. Again, if anyone is interested in C or the C conference or any information about self-employment in the arts, go to selfemploymentinthearts.com. And you'll see all kinds of incredible resources and information there. And if you have any questions about C, you can also reach out to Amy there and ask her. Yeah, this episode was pretty interesting for me to, kind of walk through the valleys of the history of my career, the ups and downs, and really look over what marketing and sales are and how they help me to find new clients and to keep those clients and to continue developing relationships with them. So, I think the important keys to remember are you need to identify your clients, who are your potential clients out there, who can you help with whatever it is you do? Or maybe a better way to put it is what problems can you solve with your art? Then you need to contact those clients. You got to figure out, are you going to email them? Are you going to cold call them? Do you know somebody who knows them? Do you have an in somewhere that maybe isn't obvious at first blush, but then as you think about it more and more, you're like, oh, wow, I think I can get into it this way. Are you prepared to contact the clients? And maybe more importantly, are you prepared for them to kind of shut you out or say no for a little while before they realize the value that you bring? And then what are you going to do when they say yes? Are you prepared for that? What you need to be prepared to do with any potential new clients is to tell them about yourself. What is it that you do? And you need to make it efficient. You need to make it fairly quick. Like if you can say it in 10 to 20 seconds, what your services are and who you are, that's called an elevator pitch. That is going to help you to efficiently and hopefully in a way that raises interest in the client. They're going to want to know more about you. And then when they start to dream about how you can help them and how you can solve their problems, are you ready to make an offer? And that offer may sound like, hey, do you have any projects you can give me right now? Or how can I help you? Like in your world, how do you think I might be able to help you? Are you ready to, start exploring those avenues with potential new clients? And then the last real point I think that I took away from this episode is are you building relationships with your clients? Are you building relationships? Are you there for them? Are you on time? Are you delivering what you say you're going to deliver when you said you're going to deliver? Are you making sure that you understand them? Are you being sure not to frustrate them? Are you being professional? All of these things that are so important to a client, because everybody wants good work, and they also want to work with someone who is easy to work with and who does what they say they're going to do, and that they don't have to manage too much, and is just efficient and makes their problems go away. You want to be a problem solver. That's what we are. We're in the business of problem solving. We just happen to do it with our creativity, right? Okay. So with that being said, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching The Breakthrough Creative. And I hope that you are working on ways to make a living from whatever it is that you do creatively, okay? Get out there, figure out how you can solve your clients' problems or your potential clients' problems, and start getting in touch with them, all right? Don't wait another week to get started on this. Go and do it today, okay? Get to work, get to work, get to work. Action brings clarity, action brings clients, okay? All right. I will see you next week. Cheers.